Because it was the hard-working patriots like you who built this country, and tomorrow it is the hard-working patriots like you who are going to save our country.
Dreadful. And it's I don't know if you guys in the UK understand how sad it is for us in Canada and in the United States to watch what you're doing to yourself. I mean, the UK is a great country. When I go there, I go to Oxford, I go to Cambridge, to these remarkable places in London, see your unbelievable deep history, understand how much the world owes the UK in terms of, say, the establishment of common law and decent government everywhere, including places like India. We owe the UK such an immense debt. And to watch you guys like spiral yourselves into the ground for this idiot, weak politicalness that's gone so far, allow your working class women to be en masse, sadistically.
I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
The people have the solution.
Yeah, nigga, this war. I'm putting bodies on the floor. I talk to my demons, titans on the wall. Niggas is dying when it's on. I get excited for them calls. And no ain't crying when he gone. Cause Brody was fighting for the cause. I do this shit for my brothers. We the shouts. The whole world watching the movie. So everybody's they done JFK my demon. Now bro not breathing. Like to solve my time.
Yo, hey everybody, you're watching Mate's Broadcast Official. Welcome back. It's another show, another day. I wasn't streaming much last week. I don't know if you guys watched my previous VODs, but I wasn't streaming much last week. I was super busy. I had university. I had to do a bunch of other stuff. But we're back today, and just like I said I would be. And yeah, we're going to be talking about a bunch of issues today. So I mean, our main topics of the day are going to be yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it. I mean, I will say. So children, yeah, they're getting graped in Congo. They're getting graped in Congo, and nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to notice. It feels like the European Union is kind of hiding this information. They don't want the general public to know because it's not everywhere, and not many people know about this. But yeah, that is happening. That is happening, and it's happening severely. Not only are they being raped in Congo, but not only are they being graped in Congo. My bad. Not only are they being graped in Congo, but they're being, given arms. Children are being given weapons to fight in the war, the Congolese war, which has been going on since about 1997. So yeah, and then yeah, Trump. We're going to be talking about a W for Trump. And yeah, we'll be getting into that and the specifics. It's to do with Apple and a recent, buyback or move back into America. And then yeah, then we'll just look at the chats. We'll talk to you guys. Hear what you guys have to say about everything. But that's basically the rundown for the show today. Yeah, I hope you guys are gonna enjoy it. But before we get into the show, I want to remind you guys to, hit the like button. Oh, well, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button, and subscribe or follow me on Twitch or Kick to, stay notified, so you know when I'm streaming. And also, yeah, make sure to leave a comment. Like, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the show. Maybe, you want some things changed. Maybe you don't like the lighting. Maybe you don't like my haircut. But yeah, you know what? The haircut issue I do actually need to attend to. Like, I really do need a haircut. My hair is an absolute. Yeah, it is becoming like an afro. What I see it now. Some of my chatters, they were telling me, but it is becoming like an afro. Um, but yeah, those are the main issues that we're going to be talking about today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Um, I always appreciate it. And also, if you guys want to follow my TikTok, make sure to, check that out. Um, let me, well, anyway, I think I messed something up. Maybe do me a matus. There we go. Okay. But yeah, no, make sure to follow my TikTok, and because I'm posting clips daily there. So clips from the stream. I don't know if you guys prefer to watch the stream, or you just want to see some clips, but I'm going to be posting a clip there today. And yeah, we post on TikTok quite consistently, so definitely stay tuned there. Gamer Jam, capitalists want you to believe that you're in a competition with immigrants for limited resources, but at the same time, billionaires hoarding trillions of dollars worth of resources doesn't harm you at all because it's a zero-sum game. Something doesn't add up. That is very true. That is very true. Now, look, I have a different stance on immigration. I personally do not really see eye to eye with people who believe that there should be more immigration. Obviously, there needs to be a certain level, and they definitely benefit the economy. But my whole argument with that would be, I mean, that's a different argument, but I agree. It's not the resources. Anyone who says like immigrants take up resources, maybe you could make the argument that they take up resources for, students, or, people who were, these like uneducated Americans or something like that, because they tend to take up, these lower income jobs predominantly. But yeah, no, you're definitely right. The billionaires are hoarding trillions of dollars worth of resources. But I mean, you could also argue that, all these resources, like the billionaires, they don't really hoard the resources. In fact, they arguably reinvest it. Like, you look at someone like Elon Musk. I mean, most of his money isn't in his bank account; it's in his company, right? So you could make that argument. They don't. It's not like they have a net worth of, or they have 1 billion in their bank just sitting there. They likely just have, billions in their company, and because of the I don't know what's going on. The asset value. Because of the asset value, that's where their network is compiled. I mean, he's almost a trillionaire. Yeah, I know. He literally got into government. You know what? He's a scammer, because you know what happened? In 2023, he was literally voting, or not voting, but supporting Rob DeSantis. He was like a shill for Rob DeSantis, and he got him on his Twitter space and everything. And then when Rob DeSantis lost in the in the butte for whoever is going to be the candidate for Republicans, when Trump won that, then Elon switched up, and then came in and was like, oh yeah, Trump 2024, blah 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 blah. And Elon was a Democrat back in 2022, so it's like, it's just strange to me, and it's I think it's clearly obvious that he's becoming like a shill for Trump, just so that he can, I mean, now he has access to the Federal Reserve. I mean, he's using some of that, I mean, sorry, Tesla is getting funded largely by the American government now. It's getting subsidized heavily. And I mean, his intentions were clearly obvious, and yeah. And you know what? You are right though. He does have money to give out, because I mean, he just knocked up Ashley St. Clair. I don't know if you know who Ashley St. Clair is, but it's basically his new baby mama. She's leaking texts about him on the internet, and yeah, he knocked her up, and he's paying her, and he's paying a bunch of other women in alimony. So, I mean, he does have money to spend, but he's not giving it to the I mean you could say what, the lower income households or the poor people. He's just giving it to these baby mamas that he's knocking up, who are literally baby trapping him, to be fair. So, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, that whole Elon situation. I'm not a big fan of it personally. Like, I like Elon. I think he's a good guy, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of everything else personally. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll get into the main topic of the day. I don't know if you've seen, or any of you guys have seen. Yeah, so there's basically been a war since 1994, since the war gonna be a sketchy new few years. It's definitely gonna be, and you know what the thing is? The thing is, it's unpredictable. I think that's the biggest problem with this new government. It's like, with the Democrats, yeah, let's be honest, not everything was great, but it was predictable. We knew what was gonna happen. We knew, what the play was gonna be. And but now, it's super aggressive. We don't know what's gonna happen. Tensions are rising because of, the tariffs that are being threatened. And now, there's certain groups that are being subjugated from, society. And then you also got these, like, new executive orders, threatening visa students. I have friends who are on visa, like, as students in America, and they're at university, and they're scared to go back home, because if they go back home to their, homeland country, wherever that might be, they're scared that they won't get a visa anymore. So, and now there's a boycott on Friday for Walmart/Amazon, I hear. Do you know why? Why is there a boycott? That's weird. Like, for what reason? I guess, what, because they're moving back? I'm not. DEI. Oh, fair enough. That makes sense, to be fair. That makes sense. I mean, but you know what? I mean, are you could, like, the reason I have Trump W in the title is because I understand, like, just to get into this quickly, because I was going to address this anyway, um, that the tariffs, they can be seen as like a negative thing, and companies might come back, but there might be a lot of retaliation, and it might hurt exports. But Apple just came out with a statement saying they're going to invest 500 billion into America into over the next 4 years, and they're going to move back their companies back into America because of the threat of tariffs on Chinese goods. So that is definitely a Trump W. I mean, companies seem to be moving back to America, but I mean, there's obviously so many more negatives with tariffs primarily. I mean, and we can definitely get into that, but. Yeah. No, that's crazy though. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. And you know what? Even talking about this Congo issue, I think that I don't know if it's fair to say that America should care about what's going on elsewhere, but I feel they have like a moral obligation, especially the UN do. I mean, children are literally getting raped, getting killed in war in Congo, and it was due to the Rwandan genocide. But I mean, the Rwandan genocide wouldn't have happened if people. I mean, if the UN got involved earlier. I'm not saying it's their fault, but I'm saying they should at least try take action. I mean, millions have been killed in that war already, and yeah, I mean, we would talk about that, but yeah, it's just something that I think we should touch on as a as humans, right? I think we should definitely care, whether it's kids in Israel dying, or kids in Congo dying. I think it still affects us in a way, and we have some sort of sympathy, because children are innocent, right? They have no, like, they can't cause any harm. So it's sad to see. It's definitely sad to see. And in Congo, if these kids, they don't join the war, um, they literally get killed. They get killed, so they have no option, which is crazy. But we'll get into it more later. Um, Regarding the Elon situation, Elon's also super super far right for no reason. I mean, the German elections were this Sunday, I'm pretty sure, and the AfD lost, but I think they got the highest seats in history. They got 20% of the vote, and I forgot the other name of the party that won, but it was some dude with glasses. I forgot his name, but he won. They won like I think 30 or 28% of the seats in the government, and but Elon was calling to support the AfD. I don't think he actually understands the AfD because the AfD is crazy. Like the AfD is not Donald Trump. The AfD is not Reform UK. The AfD is even more extremist, even more far right. I don't think he understands what the AfD is, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely something interesting to touch on. But I mean, I don't know. I think Elon, I don't know, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know where he's getting his information from. I don't. He's not a politician. He doesn't. He's not someone who's even educated when it comes to geopolitics. I would argue. Yeah, he knows a bit here and there, but I mean, he really needs to look into these cases more. I think he's being. I think the propaganda is definitely getting to him. That's evident. That's definitely evident. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I'm not too sure. Um, we're gonna get into. Let's just get into this Congo situation. I think. I think that's going to be interesting. Okay, so mm, yeah, so basically, there's been a. Give me a second. Okay, yeah, so basically, in 1994, there was a Rwandan genocide, right? Millions of people were killed. It was between two tribes, the Hutus and the Tutsis. And what happened is these were major religious groups, and there was basically a massive war. In the end, the Hutus won, and they took control of the Rwandan government. The Tutsis, scared because they were going to get, um, once the Hutus got in power, they were going to get killed or murdered. They fled, and they fled to DRC. They fled to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And what happened is, what happened is basically once they fled to Congo, they started taking the minerals. They started taking minerals from uh, the Congo. They started extracting minerals from Congo. They extracted minerals. They extracted minerals from Congo, and what happened is, the Congolese army, they did not agree with this. The Congolese government, they did not agree with this, and what they did is the Congo came out basically, and they sent their army to attack these new Tutsis, right? And these Tutsis, they're experienced fighters. They've been in war for years, and they know how to fight these wars. The Congolese army, they're unexperienced. They don't know what military conflict is really like. So what ended up happening is, just fix my lighting. But yeah, what ended up happening is basically the. Can you guys hear me fine? I just want to know. Okay, it does work. But yeah. So what happened is these Tutsis, they fought off these Congolese tribes, And what was happening is the Rwanda and Uganda actually attacked the Tutsis to just wipe them out of DRC, and they actually Rwanda ended up forming their own militia group in Congo for the minerals. So now there's another group in Congo which want the minerals. And then what happened is the Rwandan government starts to back these groups. They start because they want the minerals. So this new group that formed in DRC, the Congolese government, the Rwandan government is backing them. The Rwandan government is backing this group. So because they're doing this, these other African countries, they all go to war. And it leads to an African World War. 9 countries were involved and millions of people were killed from 1997 to 2003, right? And now the war, and there's been conflict ever since then. It hasn't stopped. But now what's happening is there's just a massive rape of children, and the UN isn't doing anything about it. In Congo, kids are getting raped. Kids are getting forced into war, and if they don't go to war, they're killed and tortured and beaten. And this is a massive problem. This is a massive problem, and I think as privileged as we are in the West, we need to address this problem. And not only do we need to address it, but we need to solve this problem. Realistically, we're the ones that need to solve it. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, I do believe in America first. I think that America should come first, but I still think that it's a major issue. Hair is an absolute mess. I do need to get a haircut. But anyway, I probably do you guys think I should get a green screen? I'm not too sure. Let me know. Should I get a green screen? Should I not get a green screen? Let me know, guys. What are your guys' thoughts? But yeah, now we're gonna get into Apple. I think this was a major Trump W. Let me repeat that again. Is the audio fine? Because I'm holding my mic. But yeah, now we're gonna get into Apple. Okay. So yeah, basically, Apple has just come out with a statement, and they're saying, wait, let me fix my hair. We all good, guys? Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So yeah, Apple came out with a statement, and they basically said that they're planning to invest $500 billion back into America. So there we go. I think that's a lot better. That's a lot better. Okay. But yeah, Apple came out with a statement saying they're going to invest $500 billion back into America recently, so today actually, over the next 4 years. So they're planning to move all their industries back to America. And this is because of Donald Trump. This is because of the threat of Donald Trump's tariffs on China and Chinese goods. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a Trump W, and you can see that, the tariffs, they seem to be working. They seem to be bringing industries back into America, and I think it's interesting. And I think that that's a W. That's definitely a W. But I think the main policies. Sorry. Okay. I think the main policies that we have to focus on are immigration, and and this is the thing, guys. We have to look at what politicians do, not what politicians say. And when we actually look at Trump's policies and his policies on immigration, we see that nothing has actually changed. Predominantly. When we actually look at the numbers, Trump came out saying Mass deportations, mass deportations. Where are the mass deportations? Look at the definition of mass deportations. There has been no mass deportations. This is why we have to look at what politicians do, not what they say. And the thing is that Trump has come out saying that there's going to be mass deportations, but it's been nothing such. Washington Post came out with a post, I think, last week, and the immigration numbers have been less than 600. 600 a day, less than 600 a day. If we do 500 immigrants, or 500 illegal immigrants deported over 2 years, if we do 500 immigrants, getting deported over 4 years, then we'll come to see that basically, we'll probably have we'll probably have got rid of, if we do 500 immigrants over 4 years, we'll come to find that we probably get rid of almost, literally like what, 200,000 immigrants? That's not enough. How is that enough? 10 million immigrants came in under Biden. And what, you're going to get rid of 2 million? 2 million is not enough. We need to, America needs to surpass the 10 million mark and get rid of more. That should be the goal. And then now Trump's coming out with an H-1B visa, which is going to bring in even more legal migrants. When the only reason he got elected or got voted in was because people didn't want immigrants coming in. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you guys have anything interesting to say? Let me see. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see me. There we go. Let me just check my audio. There we go. Let me just check my audio. Okay. Everything's working. Everything seems good. But yeah, Kai Cenat seems to be streaming. Yeah, I mean, that's basically the gist of today's news. Yeah. We'll just say just chatting. We'll do a reaction to Kai Cenat. I've never seen him online on a Monday. Oh, hi reactionary. Yo, Grand Designs. What's up, man? It's been a while. But we're back. Yeah, I'm a reactionary. What do you think? Were you Gamer Jam? I don't know. There's some guy called Gamer Jam. He came out and he said, capitalists want you to believe that you're in competition with immigrants for limited resources, but at the same time, billionaires hoarding trillions of dollars worth of resources doesn't harm you at all. It's not a zero-sum game. Something doesn't add up. But that's what capitalism is, right? What a stupid, okay, buddy. Shame of yourself, or you never had. No, if you actually watch my what I streamed on Friday, and I said I basically I came out with a schedule, and I said I'm gonna stream Saturday, I'm gonna stream earlier, and then I said I'm gonna stream this whole week. And the reason was last week was my last week of university, so this week I'm on holiday for 1 week. Last week was my so you know how it is. I don't know if you probably did go to high school, maybe you went to university, but they always cram all the work in towards the end of the week or the last week of school. You know, all the assessments, all the tests, it's all crammed up in that last week. So I had so much work to do. And then, yeah, that's why I was super tired Friday, did a short stream. And then Saturday night I had to go out. So I streamed a bit earlier for about 2.5 hours. And then, yeah, this week should be on track to stream every day this time. So 8 p.m. GMT till 10 p.m. GMT. That should be good. But yeah, no, you are right. I do need to add my stream schedule. But I've been posting clips. I don't know if you watch my TikToks, but I've been posting clips on there. If you want to check that out, we'll check that video out. But how you been? You've been good. Hopefully everything's been great. Yeah, we're trying to get that TikTok popping. TikTok popping should be a new saying. But anyway, let's watch that video. Let me see what it is. The real meaning of liberty. Okay, we can watch this. We will take out the reaction to Kaisen now. We're not just chatting, right? But you need a Discord. Yeah, you are right. I probably should get a Discord group thing going. The thing is, I never used I wasn't a big Discord guy. My friends are very, very they understand how it works. I'll ask them to server to post time. Yeah, no, I definitely need one. I'm gonna ask them to. We'll set up a room. We'll get it done. We'll try get it done by the end of what is it, March now? No, what am I saying? It's still February. Okay, we'll try get it done by March. That's what, in a week? Yeah, I have a holiday this week. We'll try get it done. Get a Telegram channel then. I've never used Telegram. Is Telegram any good? Do people even use it? I feel like more people will be more people would be inclined to use Discord, I think. But that's my stream. I was just checking if the audio worked. But we can watch this. Mushrooms goes on Livy, the real meaning of liberty. Sure, we can watch this. I'm putting it on 1.25 speed though. 1.25 speed. How do you do that? Just playback speed. Is the audio fine? Let's check this out.
Central theme of Book 1 of Machiavelli's Discourses on Livy is how the best form of political governance, or how the Roman Republic became a more perfect republic, is through conflict. Machiavelli does not believe in the...
Very easy, just register and secure an account with an email address and two-factor authentication, and you're ready in 5 minutes. Yeah, but do people use Telegram? Let's say I say, because I do have a Discord, I can make a group, but do people if I'm oh yeah, join my Telegram channel, will people join? Do people use Telegram? I feel like more people use Discord, you know what I mean?
The from heaven concept of constitutions. No constitution is initially perfect. Nor does he agree with the classical political philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, etc., that the best political regime can be rationally constructed by a study of nature replicated into a constitution. The world is a messy and imperfect place. But it is...
You don't need to download it to see the posts in a channel. Okay, I see. Okay, then it would be fine. Okay, I'll probably create a Telegram then. I'll do that. I'll create a Telegram then. It seems easier too. I think a Discord would be... It seems like it's more difficult to make. But yeah.
It is precisely this messiness and this imperfectness that drives progress forward and leads to the creation of republican government. Given the reality...
Young people have it in many cases. Okay. No, I'll get it. I'll get it set up by this week. At least, yeah, definitely by this week, before March. And I'll create it. I mean, it probably isn't that hard to do. I'm gonna post a clip after the stream on TikTok, so I'm gonna make one and post one, and YouTube, TikTok and YouTube. But YouTube keeps copyright striking my music. But tomorrow I'll definitely get it done. I'll probably create it tomorrow. So before stream I'll have it set up. I'll tell you to join, or I'll put it on my Twitch.
Of no polity ever having achieved that utopian constitution, constitutional formations are imperfect and can trend in two directions, worse or better. In other words, having achieved that utopian constitution, constitutional formations are imperfect and can trend in two directions, worse or better. In other words, more tyranny or more liberty. Or, as Machiavelli preferred, more tyrannical or more perfect republic. Machiavelli's general thought is very much compatible with Abraham Lincoln and the idea of constructing, quote, a more perfect union. As Machiavelli states, it is necessary for anyone who organizes a republic and establishes laws in it to take for granted that all men are evil, and that they will always act according to the wickedness of their nature whenever they have the opportunity. Machiavelli's bleak vision is reflective of his mixed Catholic heritage. On the one hand, Machiavelli is very Catholic. His vision of man is akin to
W. Machiavelli.
Augustine's fallen sinner. Man is tainted, if you will, by original sin and the lust for domination and self-interest and power. The task of law and government is to curb the wickedness of man and move him in the direction of the common good. But Machiavelli was a heterodox Catholic at best, a closet atheist.
The thing is, not all men are evil. I mean, to come out with that statement that men are all evil and they're going to act upon the wickedness of man, where like it's intrinsic within us. Yeah, Adam ate the apple, and we can go into that. But that was because of Eve. That was because of Eve. Let's be honest here. That was because of Eve. And also, I guess he could have made a better decision there. But the whole point is that I think it's normal for us to sin, but that doesn't make us evil in God's eyes or in other people's eyes. I mean, if someone murders someone and then repents, is he evil? You could make the argument that he is, but I would still say that, like, there's definitely arguments to make there. It's not just one way. It's not just blindsided. I mean, if he's repented for his sins and then changed, maybe he was evil and now he's no longer evil. And but yeah, I mean, it's subjective, definitely. But to say, to come out with that statement saying, man's always going to act on the wickedness of themselves. Maybe the men in power, but no, I don't think. I mean, you look at someone like Marcus Aurelius. I mean, we won't get into that, but I mean, he wasn't evil inherently.
At worst.
And he was the most powerful man on the planet at some point.
Machiavelli had no love for the institutional church, that is for sure. In fact, he saw the Roman court, the Papal States, as a barrier to possible Italian unification under a republican form of government. Therefore, Machiavelli is also a sort of forerunner to Italian nationalism. Nevertheless, it is Machiavelli's understanding of man as a conflictual animal that undergirds his political theory of dialectical advancement and how conflict produces greater liberty. Since polities do not start out with the ideal constitutions, even if some are more free than others, all polities suffer from internal strife that
That was a made-up story. Wicked in the eyes of Machiavelli is not as you or I understand it. I think he talks about the state of being blinded by ego and swayed by desire and fear. Yeah, no, it's definitely true, but this is why I mentioned someone like Marcus Aurelius and how, if you're secular, if you don't believe in anything, at least strive to, because whether we're secular or not, we still look up to something. Like we still idolize something. You know what I mean? So whether whether you're a young guy and you idolize rappers or all these things that the young guys idolize, especially over here. I was literally walking to the grocery store the other day. Not the other day, literally today afternoon. And there was a kid behind me. He was maybe like 8 years old. And another kid who was 16 years old. He was a black dude, all right? Some black dude, yeah, came up to that kid and was like, "What the f are you doing in my town?" And he was right behind me. I thought he was talking to me. And he walked up to that kid, started fighting him. They just started fighting on that street. The kid's like 14 years old. This is an irrelevant story. Most people are like that on and off basis. Yeah, I agree. But when I mentioned Marcus Aurelius, sorry, that was an irrelevant story to bring up. It's just something on my mind. But the whole point was that, yeah, if we look at someone like Marcus Aurelius, when he was in power, he was emperor of Rome at some point, and he had someone, uh, he always had to remind himself that he's just a man, but he had all the desire in the world. I mean, when you're an emperor of Rome, you can have sex, you can have money, you have power. I mean, you have everything in the world, but he still held back. He didn't abuse his power. He didn't have any prostitutes. He didn't have any women around him. And he was a simple man. He wrote books, and I don't think that guy practiced what he preached. Oh, you don't think he practiced what he preached? Well, I mean, you should read his book. It's called Marcus Aurelius Meditations. It's a very complex book. I'll be honest, I haven't read the whole thing. I've read maybe the first 20, 30 pages. But it's so complex because it's written in, the English back then was super complex, and, the words they used, we don't use today. So it's very hard to understand. I had to keep searching up meanings of words every time I was going through that book. I can't do it, but I think he did. I think he was. I mean, I don't know. Why would he just lie? You know what I mean? I don't know. But we'll continue.
Either destroys the polity or strengthens it. As it relates to Rome, the subject of his analysis, internal conflict strengthened the republic. Again, Machiavelli, reflecting on what we now call the conflict of the orders between the patricians and the plebeians, writes, "In this way, after many disorders, disturbances, and the danger of disagreement that arose between the plebeians and nobility, the creation of the tribunes came about for the security of the plebeians, and these tribunes were established with such power and prestige that they could always thereafter act as intermediaries between the plebeians and the Senate, and could curb the insolence and the power of the nobles. The conflict of the orders brought about greater republicanism, greater liberty, because, although a de jure republic, Rome was a de facto tyranny or oligarchy. Only the interests of the rich landowning patrician elite were represented after the expulsion of Tarquin and his sons."
I read part of it. I will listen to it all soon. You realize you make no sense because what you read is translated in contemporary English, not in Old English. No. I was reading the Old English version. Like I was, yeah. Let me. I'll even show it to you. Marcus Aurelius, because I just read on my laptop. Presentation, PDF. Well, okay, I'm not entirely sure, but let me try find the one that I was reading. It's not that one. It was this one. Book one. Okay, you know what? Maybe not, but I just found it super hard to understand. I read this like 2 years ago. Okay, I was like 17. But it was just so confusing. I guess this probably is contemporary English. You are right. But I mean, what absolute hell? This was hell. Okay, to read. Okay, for a 17-year-old self, maybe now I'll probably find it a bit easier, but yeah, back then it was a struggle, man.
The conflict of the orders, which created the plebeian tribunates, was instrumental in achieving several things. First was the greater representation of the interests.
Listen to an audiobook. I prefer reading because I like to take notes when I read. I guess you could take notes through listening, but I don't know, I feel like reading is just better. Free on YouTube. Oh yeah, you are right, it's free on YouTube. I just get them free off, like, you just search up the book name and then like search up PDF next to it, and then you get the book. I don't know. I feel like that's a bit better.
Of all Roman society, thus making the republic more perfect and more republican and less tyrannical, because republicanism is about having all interests in society.
You will know how new words are pronounced. To be fair, that is true. But I feel like when you read a book, like you kind of get a better understanding. I don't know what the difference is, but like I tend to understand things better when I read them versus listening to them. Well, maybe not understand them better, but it tends to stick with me more, if that makes sense.
Represented, even if unequally. Second is that the representation of the plebeians gave them a buy-in, so to speak, to perform duties and defend the republic which they now had a stake in. And again, only when all segments of society have a stake in society can society be called a republic. And when all parties, all individuals, all groups in a society are willing to defend it, it will become stronger as a result. This is the greater value of republican government over all other forms of government, i.e. tyranny in whatever constitutional guise it manifests itself in. The common populace feel that they have a stake in its success and survival, and will, therefore, be willing to make sacrifices for its preservation. Look at it this way. If in a tyranny the peasants have zero representation in government, they will not defend the nation when the going gets tough. People yearn for liberty and justice, another Augustinian inheritance in Machiavelli, albeit secularized in his thought, and will therefore seek liberty and justice in whomever they think will best dispense it to them. In a republic, however, since the peasants have a represented stake in the nation, they will more enthusiastically fight for its defense and survival in times of trouble, because they have a motivating reason to do so. And in doing so, society is strong and virtuous. Third is that the compromises reached in political conflict leads to greater liberty and stability in society. Greater liberty is to the advantage of the disenfranchised. Greater stability is an advantage to those already in power. Both sides win. Liberty and stability, as Machiavelli sees it, are two sides of the same coin. They share a sort of symbiotic relationship. A nation with excessive liberty and no stability will collapse into anarchy, where liberty is subsequently deprived because the strongest impose their order on everyone else. A nation with excessive stability, i.e. authoritarianism or tyranny, will slip into civil war, where stability is then subsequently deprived, and we all suffer the pains of chaos. Thus, the relationship between liberty and stability is a tenuous one, but one that binds together through political conflict, leading to compromise, like the establishment of the plebeian tribunates. Since conflict is the product of
This is quite complex.
greater political representation,
Like,
and therefore liberty.
I don't know like much about the tribes and the plebeians and whatnot, but I should probably look into it.
And stability, political conflict rather than unity is to be celebrated. As Machiavelli writes, if these disturbances were the cause of the creation of the tribunes, they deserve the highest praise, because besides giving to the people its role in democratic administration, the tribunes were established as the guardians of Roman liberty. Rome's republic was great because it developed over the course of centuries of conflict, beginning with the overthrow of the monarchy, where the aristocrats reasserted their ancient privileges and rights, and the conflict of the orders between the patrician aristocrats and the plebeian underclass, which established privileges and rights to the plebeians and gave them a stake in the continuation, survival, and empowerment of the Roman Republic. It is because the plebeians achieved privileges and rights through conflict that made them more attached to the body politic than before. Machiavelli could write, the Roman plebeians generally thought that they deserved the consulate because they compromised the largest part of the city. They ran greater risk in the wars, and they kept Rome free and powerful with their own might and muscle. The development of the best form of government is, in Machiavelli, almost by force of historical accidents. Constitutions develop over the course of history, becoming better over time. There is no perfect originalism in Machiavelli's thought. The establishment of a constitution is important because it gives the people a sense of liberty and equality, but a constitution is made better through the conflicts of society, which bring greater liberty and greater equality, a more perfect union to come into existence. It is not the rejection of ancestral lineage that creates the best constitution, but the development of that ancestral lineage that manifests itself in fruition over the course of history. The Romans, Machiavelli tells us, had an instinct for liberty, however imperfect their founding was. Machiavelli also says the Romans were right in honoring their history, their founding and founders, precisely because it was the spirit of struggle and liberty that continued to be developed, leading to the overthrow of Tarquin and the eventual inclusion of the plebeians into the constitutional order. The conflict that was celebrated at the origin of the Roman Republic is something good. None of this would have been possible without conflict, and it would have equally been unlikely that this greater development of liberty and equality in the Roman Republic would have occurred if not for the fact that the Romans already had the seed of conflict and their taste for liberty in their genus, their origin story of the conflict of Aeneas' struggle. The overthrow of the monarchy is something that the plebeians latched onto in their conflict with the patricians. They argued that they were more Roman than the Roman aristocracy. The formation of the Roman Republic, the 12 tablets of the Roman law, and its propagation throughout the rest of Europe came about through historical conflict. Conflicts between Rome and its tyrant kings, conflicts between the patricians and the plebeians, compromise and new creations, all worked to produce that great messiness that was the Roman Republic and her laws. The republic that was so venerable and great did not descend from heaven at the snap of Juno's fingers, nor was the Roman constitution crafted by Romulus or Aeneas. Instead, the republic and her laws were the product of dialectical conflict in history, which produced the most remarkable form of government ever to grace the earth, with its just laws embodying liberty and order as the byproduct of these conflicts. From Machiavelli's eyes, we can see that the greatest political advancements always emerge from conflict. And in the Discourses of Livy, Machiavelli's reflections on Roman history underscore this reality. And it was Machiavelli's hope that the conflict occurring in early modernity, in the late Renaissance, that was boiling over all of Italy, could have given the Italians the moment to create a unified republic, reminiscent of the Roman Republic of old. While that reality did not come into existence, Machiavelli's reflections on how the greatest form of political government, the greatest liberty and equality, stability and order is in fact the result of social and external conflicts, are worth considering in the 21st century.
To be fair,
His name is synonymous.
I have watched make that bigger. I have like seen some stuff about Machiavelli, and I did plan, like I wrote his book down, like I do want to read it. I haven't read about it much yet, and I do understand like parts about the Roman Empire, you know, with Romulus and Remus and the creation of it, and initially, and how, you know, Romulus killed his brother Remus, and you know, I understand the war against the Carthaginians and how the government worked. I think it was every year or every month there was a new, I can't remember, I haven't looked into it in a while, but every year or every month there was a new prime minister or leader that was elected, and it kept changing again and again and again. And but I do need to look into the politics more. I mean, you know, I'll be completely honest, like it was like I don't know, like I don't know much about everything that was being said because I haven't looked into it that much, but I understand the basis, I think, where it's saying, I mean, obviously the Roman Empire built the foundation arguably to our government today, and they basically formed their government through these conflicts with, you know, these external, you know, through conflicts throughout time whether that be with the aristocrats, with the plebeians, and whatnot. But I kind of get it, but I'm also kind of confused. I'll definitely need to look into that more. I mean, what was the main stance? I mean, let me go back to it. This is the real meaning of liberty. Let me post it into. Okay, I kind of get it. hmm no, I do kind of get it, where it's saying that liberty should basically be spread. Well, like if I'm reading I'm reading the transcript of the video. I don't know if you like the transcript. It's like the whole the subtitles basically. But I kind of get it. I mean, thousands. I kind of do understand it, where it's like he's practically saying that like liberty is formed not on a monarchy or a dictatorship, but where the lower class or even in an aristocratic government, the lower class citizens are involved in the in the government in the system. I kind of get that, and then he basically talked about the formation of the Roman government. Let me scroll down for the script. Machiavelli. And I mean, yeah, he's talking about like the conflicts within. I mean, sorry, the conflicts with the aristocracy, and the normal man or the average man, is not really a destructive conflict, but a conflict that helps build. Um, that helps build the law in the sense that the arguments that are made on both sides can help, from an unbiased perspective, can be taken into account and then be used to develop new laws or develop certain sanctions or whatever is necessary. But yeah, he sees those arguments between the aristocracy and the average person or the average Roman at the time as necessary. I kind of understand it. It's just like I just don't know much about like the plebeians and I forgot what the other ones were. I need to look more into it. Definitely need to look more into it. But yeah. But I mean, let's see. Yeah, but he brings up some good points. I mean, I think predominantly, I think his greatest point is that I think he talked about like how the citizens. He said he talked about how the citizens should never remain complacent. I think that was his greatest point and my greatest take from that. Because once corruption or tyranny seeks in to the government and the citizens aren't aware of it, it creates disruption in the whole political realm, right? And I think that's happening now. I think the citizens are unconcerned, especially in Europe and in the UK. The citizens, they're unconcerned. They're unconcerned with what's going on, um, and they're not really aware of what's going on. I mean, they sit there in complacency, in their heated homes, eating the best food in the world, food that kings would eat 600-700 years ago. And yeah, I mean, they're complacent, and I think that's a problem. I think that they're not aware of what's going on, and there's no one really explaining what's going on. I mean, I try even look for, in the UK, I mean, you got like this thing called Speaker's Corner, and you got people debating about like God and the existence of it and whatnot. But you don't really have like people talking about politics, predominantly, and that's a big problem. That's definitely a big problem, and something that needs to be addressed. And in the US, you have a lot of it. I think the people they're definitely not content with how the system is, and even the young people, they're constantly, this constant pushback against policies, against the government. Here, it's just like, oh, we can't change anything, so who cares? It's like I forgot the word, but it's like a it's I forgot the word, but it's basically this mindset of, oh, it's not like my vote's going to do anything, so might as well not vote. And that's the mindset they have here. It needs to change, though. I think that's a great message. I don't think he's wrong, um, but I don't think every man is evil. I think that we can elect good people into government, and the government's not always tyrannic and doesn't all. And I understand that most men will go into desire and pursue their personal needs over the needs of the people. But I mean, it depends on the man. And I mean, what, he was a Catholic? He was a Catholic, but I mean, obviously, he still feels desire. But I think that, if we truly try our best to serve God, I don't see how we can act in a, even if you're a secularist, even if you're secular, and yeah, if you're secular and you still look at a man who believes in God and follows, let's say he's perfect, which is obviously impossible, but let's say he throughout his whole life he's followed God, he doesn't swear, he doesn't do anything bad, or and he uh, doesn't go against anything that the Ten Commandments command, or anything that the book says that's considered bad. Even if you're secular and you look at that man, you'll be like, yeah, he's a good man, he's good for society. And that's the point I'm trying to make, where it's like, if we had a religious government, not in the sense that the constitution is religious, but the people running in the government are religious and act on the needs of the people, and by following God, they can do that because I mean, depending on what book, but in some religious books they even say to give alms to the poor. Now that's not my book, but you know what I mean. And so I don't think it promotes a bad thing, but and many of these books, they don't even promote interest, because interest makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. So it's interesting to think about. Because usually rich people give out loans. I mean, that's how it worked back in the Babylonian times. The rich banker used to give out loans, and he used to get back, usually, unless the customer went bankrupt, but there would obviously be collateral involved. But the banker would give out, money, and the individual would pay them back interest, and the rich got richer because they would get back their money plus, let's say, a 4% interest. So $100 now. The system selects for very compromised, flawed individuals in power, emboldens them to conduct themselves in such a way that disregard common good and favor their enablers with ease. You know what? I don't think you're wrong. I think the system does elect some fools, but I think, look, this is what I have to say. You look at someone like, look, I don't like to bring him up in every conversation, but you look at someone like Trump, right? Running in 2015, he was not controlled. The system did not want him. They tried to do everything possible to get rid of him. I mean, they thought he was gonna. I think there is still there's still legitimacy when it comes to voting in people. Um, but I think that if you look at someone like Trump, the system didn't want him, and they didn't expect him to win. I mean, Hillary on the unofficial scorecard or unofficial voting poll was up like 80% or 85% to 15 on Trump. So they didn't rig it or anything. I'm not saying that any other one was rigged. I'm not saying that. I'm not spreading. I'm a comedian. I'm not spreading conspiracy theories. But yeah. So, but it would they couldn't do anything to stop him, and he came out with that win. But even though at some point he thought he might have lost the Republican Party or they might kick him out, he came out and said he's going to run as an independent because he has enough money to run as an independent. And yeah, so I think Trump is a great example of someone they didn't pick in. And I think now he is controlled by them, and they've kind of they've shaken him up a bit. But I don't think like in his yeah, I don't think he's definitely a tricky one. And look, this is the main problem I have with the political system. It's that there's people in the parliament or people in the government or administration, whatever it may be, that no matter who you vote in, whether it's left wing, whether it's right wing, whether it's Republican, whether it's Tory, whether it's Labour, whether it's Reform, there are unelected individuals in the administration, people that we did not choose, right? So you have, you know, the prime minister's changing or the president's changing, but the administration, some people are there year on year on year. Whoever wins, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump or whether it's Rishi Sunak or whether it's Keir Starmer or whether it's Nigel Farage. I mean, whoever comes into the prime minister might change, but the administration, the same guy gets hired again. He gets hired again for another 4 years. He gets hired again for another 4 years. Then what starts to happen is he starts to create his own agenda and he starts to have his own political needs. I mean, if he's in power that long, or at least has that level of, maybe it's not the highest level of power, but it's, it is a form of power, and he has that form of power for such a long time. And I mean, at that point, you'd feel somewhat invincible. You'd be like, I'm going to get voted in no matter what. You start to create your own agenda and you start to push your own values and your own needs. And these are the people we don't even know about. And because we don't know about them, they can't be held accountable. They are literally held unaccountable. And that's the biggest problem. Majority are always self-interests and serve a group interest first because they identify with the power establishment has to keep to cover their back since the corruption is so prevalent. Yeah, you know what? I always had this argument where it's like, everyone says like Africa is corrupt, right? Everyone's like Africa is so corrupt. Africa's one of the most corrupt places in the world. The government's corrupt. That's why the country's failing. But you look at countries like in the Europe and in the West, I think they're just as corrupt. They might not be okay. No, maybe they're not that bad because Africa's bad. You know what I mean? But they are definitely corrupt. But they just hide it better. They're just better at hiding it. They still are corrupt here and there, but they're better at hiding it. Africa, they just don't give a shit. Like they'll steal a bunch of money, and ideology is also corrupting them. You mean corrupting the president or corrupting the people? Because if you mean like corrupting them, what ideology are you saying? The ideology that they, when I say you know what I mean when I say they, ideology is also corrupting them. You know what? I'm going to talk about this because you know I think it needs to be touched on. Um, I'm gonna I'm look I'm a neutral on this topic. This is a dangerous topic to talk about. But I'm neutral on this topic. But you know, you should search up the disputation of Paris, and you should look into that. And what it was about was uh, look, I'm neutral on this topic, but not neutral. Okay, look, I'm presenting both sides. I'm just talking about it. You can make your own mind up on what this is about. But I was reading something the other day, and they were talking about the disputation of Paris, right? And it happens in it's like 1293 or 1283. I can't remember exactly when, or 1214, I think it was. And what happened is basically, um, so you have these, wait, let me read. Statist ideology first and foremost. Oh, sorry, statist. I remember I kept mispronouncing it. Statist ideology first and foremost ideology with public servants have adopted. Mm, I get what you mean. Mm, yeah, but look, we have to identify where do the ideologies come from and why are they purported? That's what we have to ask, right? Who's in power, right? So with politics, we all have to look. Grand designer, this is what we have to understand. Politics is very simple. I was saying this earlier. Never listen to what a politician says. Listen, I mean, not sorry. Never listen to what a politician says. Look at what they do, right? And if we look at what most politicians do, they don't usually do what they say, or they don't do it to the extent that they say. You know, Trump came out, for example, saying mass deportations. There has been no mass deportations. They have the ideology because it enables them to get power and keep it. Exactly, exactly. I agree with you. They do have the ideology because that's the only way they can get in. If they didn't have the ideology, they wouldn't even let them get into the government. They wouldn't even let them run in the parliament or the parliamentary system. Now, um, basically, yeah, this was what I was going to get into, but that's what we have to do. We have to identify who are they, who is they, right? And the whole point I was trying to make is basically in politics you just have to look at where the money goes, right? Where the money goes and who's funding the government. Now, in the USA, whenever there's a president running, he has to formulate a campaign and he has to push forward that campaign. Well, not push forward, but you know, he has to participate in that campaign. You know, run a campaign, and that's the campaign. You know, it includes marketing, it includes a whole bunch of other things. And during that campaign, and that's what enables him to, you know, really market himself out to a larger audience and really gain that vote. While having disregard for individual rights and autonomy, they develop a system where benefits goes to their team, their enablers, and their sponsors. I do agree. But I don't agree that it's like that's all true. I think that what I mean by that is basically they wouldn't make it that obvious. They will do some things in right of individuals because if they just completely, yeah, most benefits though, yeah, I agree, most benefits, sure, but what I'm trying to say is they wouldn't try to make it that obvious. I mean, because the public would outrage if that's the case, right? But you know, if they give them something here and there, you know, they do them a little favor here and there, people get content. And when people get content, that's when corruption increases usually, or maybe you know the you know these corrupt tactics, they tend to increase. And but yeah, as I was saying earlier, yeah, you just have to look at where the money goes and who's donating the money. So you know what a campaign is. I'm not going to explain it, but who funds these campaigns? You have to look at that, right? When the go, you know, when foreign aid is going out, when money is being sent abroad, from, let's say, America to, or the UK to somewhere in Asia, for example. Who is it being sent to? Why is it being sent to them? Has that country done anything for us? And yeah, those are the things we have to look at. And I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, once you look at that, I think it's pretty obvious what the real cause is. They've adopted the ideology which works best if they believe individual rights can be eroded to justify state policy. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I disagree with something there. I need to put my finger on it. They adopted an ideology which works best if they believe individual rights. They believe individual rights can be eroded to justify state policy. Look, I agree with you. And you know what? Even going back to the, conscription argument. Look, I don't think it's right that people should be, conscripted. I think only if it's only if their homeland is being attacked, right? Or, there's a threat of attack. But that's all. But no, for the most part, I think I have kind of looked into it more, and I've started to change my mind on that. But anyway, they've adopted an ideology which works best if they. Yeah, they have, but I think it's more than that. Like, I think we think it's about the state, but do you think people really care that much about money? Like, I mean, once you have, more than like $10 million, you're set for life. You really are. You are set for life, right? Then you are for it. You should not be into it. No, I'm not like into it per se. When I do look at it more, I understand I see it more as like if other countries like do it, then we should be, um, we should definitely, as in, you know what I mean. Like we've talked about this before. If Russia or China do it, we have to be aware of them, especially Russia, because Russia, I would say, is the West's biggest threat. And I don't know what Trump is doing recently. Engaging with Russia and engaging with Putin, trying to get into ties with him. Although, you know what, I do agree that Zelensky's an absolute ass clown, and I disagree with him, but I think it's more so just because of the threat Russia is to Europe and to the UK. I mean, Keir Starmer literally came out with a statement the other day saying that he's going to put British troops in Ukraine. I mean, is this guy all right in the head? Is he mentally ill? Like something like that, I definitely disagree with. Keir Starmer came out saying he's going to put British troops in Ukraine. I definitely disagree with that. And if it's necessary, then it's a problem. And the thing is, this is the problem with the UK government. You look at the US government, the president doesn't have power to do that. The president does not have power to just put troops in a country without going through the judiciary first. In the UK, executive power and legislative power kind of go hand in hand when it comes to certain policies. And the prime minister here, he can go out and he can just put troops in Ukraine, and there's literally they can. I mean, yeah, the lords could, push back against that, but primarily he has the power to do that. He has the power to just take troops and put them in the country without any pushback. And that's the problem with the system over here. But yeah, no, what I was saying is, once you have enough money, there has to be something more that motivates you to, commit these corrupt actions and to, keep control of these people. And it has to be more than power. It has to be something, it has to mean more. Maybe it's something to do with a religious belief or a cult belief. And that's what I think it is. I think it's more than just the money. I think it's more than just. Okay, let me read this. That is a bad policy. It is wrong, but you refuse to accept, and you have no business to force people into a military since they take So since they take many people who, I don't know why this is glitching. Chat paused due to scroll. I'm going to read it down here. Since they take many people who don't want to, who are in bad health and they know that they are, or people who might not be diagnosed in time to get a deferral from serving, or some take care of others who depend on their assistance. Look, bro. I agree that that's wrong, but like, let's say it's an emergency. Like, we don't have time to check on those things. I mean, people who have health issues, sure, they shouldn't be sent into war, but like, people who haven't, are still waiting on the deferral, like, yeah, okay, maybe that should be pointed to, but it's like, I don't know. I think that look, I definitely think it's wrong. I think military conscription should only be there in case of, national defense, like unless it was like a threat to the country. You know what I mean? And yeah, and yeah, you could also make the argument that these countries, they make a lot of money from, selling guns, from selling weaponry, and yeah, I mean, maybe that's why they're so, because if the whole world just destabilized their military, and you know military conscription wasn't optional, yeah, there would be some people who want to, but typically, what the thing is, like, what I've come to realize, like, when I was young, maybe I have a different opinion on this now, but when I was young, I didn't know much. I wanted to join the military. There are never emergencies that qualify to delete an individual's autonomy. State can lie to drag you into war. States are always cold-blooded and have blood on their hands in most cases. I agree. But that's what I'm saying. The state is the problem, right? If we, like, it's not really the military conscription, but it's the state that needs to change. And um, I forgot what I was going to say earlier. I said, yeah, I wanted to be in the military when I was young, and I don't have that opinion anymore. Oh yeah, I was going to say that people who join the military typically want to join the military. Like, okay, that's the military. I guess conscription is different, but what I was going to say is the people who usually get sent off into war aren't really people who are like, are people. I mean, they usually did choose to serve, if you know what I mean, and that's due to propaganda. But they usually do choose to serve, and a lot of people in the military, especially out in Eastern Europe, out in France, out in Russia, they're typically criminals. And if they weren't in the military, they would be out in the general public, and they probably would have killed someone, or probably would have done something heinous. So they choose to join the military, and yeah, that's something I wanted to say. But no, the state is the problem, and the state is something that needs to be changed, not really the military conscription. Because I mean, if you had a government that was actually acted in good faith, then I don't think military conscription would be a problem. But I definitely see the issue you're bringing up. The state is the problem, which you give a right to take freedom away from this freedom away in the name of the state. No. But like, what I'm trying to say is basically that look, the state needs to change, and this is why I created this, right? So that we can create a political movement to change the state, or to at least build up, because you know what they say. They say it doesn't take like millions of people to change something. It takes a small number of dedicated people. A small number of dedicated people can change the state, and or at least make change in the world. And that's why this whole movement was created in the first place. Good state is not including conscription. Look, I think conscription is necessary in terms of defense, though. If it was a good state, if there were good people in parliament who acted upon, purely a defensive, genuine defensive action, like let's say you had another, you had Putin trying to invade the whole of Europe, and that's because he wanted control. You're saying that the people shouldn't fight back against this? You think they should just get taken? Because then they're going to lose all their liberty. I mean, even during the Stalin era, they were subjugated under the Iron Curtain and whatnot. I mean, it's not something we want. Russia's an enemy, right? Russia's a problem. Russia's definitely a problem. But you should watch the videos of men being kidnapped from the street in Ukraine to be sent to war. No, no, no. Look. This when I read more into this, I was definitely outraged, and I retract my earlier statements, and cheap viewers, or just get out of here, man, with that nonsense, bro. But you destroy yourself to avoid to be destroyed. Stalin forced into military, had no right to do it. Stalin was forced into the military, or are you saying Stalin forced people into the military? Yeah, he didn't have a right to do it, I agree. No, 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 definitely. I think what Ukraine did is definitely wrong. I think that, look, I think that Zelensky should just aim for peace. I think, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, forcing people to die, and, there are women flying around the world, and, the men, typically dying in these wars. I think it's horrendous. I think that there should be peace. I just, I don't want to see people dying. You know what I mean? And look, I would never want to see that, no matter what side it is, whether I agree with them, whether I don't. I think dying is the biggest problem, and but the thing is, Zelensky doesn't want peace. Zelensky is corrupt, and I agree with that. I think that he's literally a dictator. I mean, he literally doesn't want peace, no matter what. He doesn't want peace, and he's the problem. I mean, just don't join NATO and give up the land you've lost, and there would be peace. But he doesn't want that. I mean, Trump literally came out with a statement the other day. You know what? You don't like Trump, right? I'm not sure if you like him or not, but he literally came out with a statement the other day, you know, condemning Zelensky, saying Zelensky was the problem, and Zelensky is sending people into this war to die. And people have this really bad opinion of Trump, but he's right. He's right. People are dying. People are dying, and it's a massive problem. And they've been dying for what, 3 years now, since 2021, almost, yeah, about around that much. I definitely see that. I definitely think that that's a problem. I don't disagree with that. Do I think it's right for Russia to attack them based on the things? Maybe not, but the war has gone on too long. I mean, peace is what matters now. I have to point out the extremely prevalent corruption due to doctors, military employees, commanders taking bribes to place people in less dangerous positions in the army. Taking bribes to place people in less dangerous positions in the army, or to let them not fight and avoid military setting. Yeah, no, that is true. That is definitely true. That people that they do that. Yeah, so it's kind of like the rich people, they get away with it and they don't have to join, and then the poor people are sent to fought off. I mean, the poor people are sent out to fight these wars for the politicians who are also rich and also would never fight in these wars, just to fight for their agendas. And the poor people are sent out, and the rich people just bribe everyone, and then the powerful people don't even fight in these wars. It's definitely a problem, and that system needs to change. That's what I'm saying. The politicians are who need to change. The system is what needs to change. The whole election, whoever they elect the election process, as well as the just the system overall needs to change. But yeah, I heard a psychiatrist of Ukraine was just arrested with millions in ill-gotten wealth from bribes of military men. Yeah, Ukraine is definitely a problem, and yeah, Trump and Elon, I think they're calling for the election because I think there's an election in Ukraine this year, and they know if the election happens, Zelensky's going to get voted out. But I don't think Zelensky wants the election to happen. Um, and yeah, I mean that's horrendous, though. I mean, but like, to take bribes for it is stupid, but I think it's just wrong to send these men into war. I think it's just wrong. Yeah, I think it's just wrong. It's just completely wrong, and it's scary because these men, they don't want to go to war, but yeah, they're forced into it. No, I definitely see the struggle there. Oh, he refused to hold any presidential election. I see, I see, I see. So then he just doesn't want peace at all. He doesn't want peace at all. But this is the problem. Zelensky's a dictator. Zelensky's a crazy dictator. Over 100,000 men deserted from Ukrainian army. I mean, like, no, I think it's horrendous. I genuinely think it's horrendous. I think what Zelensky's doing is horrendous. I disagree with him on everything. On everything, like, not on everything, but what he's doing now. It's horrendous. But I think there needs to be a hypocrisy that's pointed out here, because when I don't know why I always go back to this. Imagine you had over 7 million Brits leave. Yeah, it would be horrendous. It would be just as bad. Yeah, it would be just as bad. And especially, I mean, if it was depending on the scale of the war, I mean, someone like me could even be pointing out, I'm young, I would say I'm pretty, I'm in pretty good shape. I'll probably get sent out, but I have to point out some level of hypocrisy here, from Mr. Trump, because Israel's doing the same thing. Israel's doing the same thing that Zelensky's doing, but they're on offense, or the same thing that Russia's doing. They've killed millions of children, right? Babies and all those different things, and there doesn't really seem to be a solution going on there. Yeah, there's a temporary ceasefire. I mean, we'll see how that goes. I guarantee you, in the next month, it's going to be completely broken down. Look at polls of men refusing. No, I know the British people, they don't like to join the military on a voluntary basis. No, they definitely don't. And I know this. People my age, they definitely don't. But yeah, it's look, I just see it more as like we have to be aware of the threats that other countries offer to us. That's all it is, like, because I think for the longest time, I believe this. I think for the longest time in history, the Russia's always wanted to take Europe. I think since the 1900s, Russia's always had this goal to take Europe, and they're just waiting for the perfect moment. Yes, Israel has received Trump's accord to continue fighting Hamas. Yeah, I know. And then, like 2 weeks earlier, Trump came out with a policy saying he's going to annex all the people from Palestine, turn Gaza into this international hemisphere. Whether that was true or not, I don't think it was. And I think he was kind of rolling the dice there, because there was an impasse. He was kind of trying to, make someone make a move on the chessboard. And Trump's smart like that, but there's definitely a hypocrisy there. And just as you said, yes, Israel has received the Trump's accord to continue fighting Hamas. See, look, we have to, whenever we talk about they or the state or, all these things, we have to really look at where the money's going. The hypocrisy. Trump came out with a policy earlier. I'm just giving you the facts. I'm not pushing any conspiracies or anything. Trump's recently stated this was his plan. Recently stated his plan was optional, though. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't think he's going to follow through with that. If he does follow through with that, I mean, he's going to get like, I mean, all the people, there's so many, I'm going to say, how do you say, I don't think I'm allowed to say, there's so many, I'm not going to say it, but there's so many idiots. There's so many idiots in the country, and they're just going to believe anything they're told. So if Trump is like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and then there'll always be those average guys who are like, oh yeah, let's go Trump. No matter what he says, he could say anything. But we have to hold him accountable. And I mean, that's just ridiculous. And I think if people are actually smart, they're going to hold him accountable. There'll be some sort of I mean, I don't how the UN won't even agree with that. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But yeah, no, I'm not pushing any conspiracy theories, but or anything, I don't believe in this. I'm just giving you guys the information. You can make up your own mind. I don't believe in it. I'm just saying I think that the country is run by the government. I don't think anything otherwise. But yeah, you really when you look at where the money's going, I mean, Trump came out as well, cutting well, a policy or an executive order got passed I think 3 weeks ago, and he basically cut foreign aid to all I think all countries, and there were two exceptions, Israel and Egypt. Those were the only two exceptions. And Israel is America's largest donor. So Israel gets most of America's money. It's the largest. Yeah, America donates like most of its foreign aid. The highest percentage goes to Israel, and then to Egypt. And the only reason Egypt gets money, you can read about this, is because when Egypt was at war with Israel, America came in and they bribed Egypt, practically bribed them, and they basically told them, stop fighting Israel, and we're gonna, give you this foreign aid. And they stopped fighting Israel. And I think since the I'm not sure 1900, yeah, somewhere around the 1900s, I don't remember the exact date, this happened. And yeah, nobody likes to talk about this, but it's true. And when we look at where the money's going, and what's been going on, even with the JFK declassification details, we really have to really think about it. And when we do, I think it's yeah. I mean, yeah, you can make your own opinion. I don't think it's true. Personally, I disagree with it. I don't I think all that Israel stuff is nonsense. I don't believe in it. Anyone who promotes that is an idiot. But you can make your own up. You can make your own mind about. You can make your own mind up. You can make your own decision based on the information I provided you there. But you know what? Something that needs to be addressed for sure, or at least talked about. These discrepancies or these hypocritical statements. Because when it's Ukraine, it's fine. We're gonna cut foreign aid to Ukraine because we don't want to send money to Ukraine. But Ukraine was our ally. But we'll continue sending money to Israel and Egypt. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Uh, I'm not too sure, but I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in any of it. Don't take my word on that. Yeah, do not take my word on that. Let me just change my stream title to politics. There we go. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't believe in any of that. No, yeah, I don't believe in it. But I'm just giving you the information. I think, like, I don't believe in any conspiracy theories or anything. I think that, yeah, I don't believe in any conspiracy theories, and I don't agree with any conspiracy theories. Anything that's, you know, set out to be. Uh, I'm just giving you information. You know what I mean? That's my job, right? Americans do support Zionist projects, even if politicians would not support it. They do, but I think that's just because of propaganda. And it's hard to find politicians that don't support it. I mean, it's hard to find politicians that don't support Israel. I mean, can you even name any? And if they don't, are they even like? I guarantee you, there's no one in the administration for the past 8 years in the presidential, cabinet who doesn't support them. And if you look at most, yes, because of religion, right, and nationalism in more secular part of the population. Yeah, but I'm not even talking religious wise. Like look, I'm not even Muslim, but I'm just talking in terms of like, you know, Trump came out, and his whole stance was America first. America comes first. You know, we're gonna do our policies first. But I don't know. I don't know. And I mean, if you look at a lot of the young people, a lot of Americans, they don't really support Zionism in terms of like, it's the young people at these universities at Harvard who are like protesting against Israel. I'm not saying when that's right, I disagree with that. I don't agree with that. Evangelical people support Israel first. Evangelical people are idiots. Evangelical Christians, I disagree with them. But anyway, support Israel first. Yeah, they do. They do support them. And mm, yeah, it's a problem. Well, I don't know. The thing is, it's like, imagine all their policy. Look, I'm not going to get into this conversation. Like it's. You should look at the laws in the UK because I took a law. I took a look at them, and yeah, I don't want to talk about this stuff because yeah, I mean, it's not really legal to do so. I don't think. Well, obviously I don't support it, but as in like I don't support like obviously I support Israel. I love Zionism and everything to do with it, but um, yeah. Have you read the links? Oh yeah, I did, but I read them literally on the day. So when I off the stream that day, I read the Trump one. I didn't finish that video. Um, but I read the Trump one. But I kind of forgot everything. I didn't take notes on that. Let me. It was. Should I get it? Should I pull it up again? But But yeah, yeah. Let's not talk about especially on Twitch and especially in the United Kingdom. Okay, let me try find them. Hopefully that VOD. I don't know if the VOD's still up. That's the problem. Because the VODs they get deleted really. They get deleted early now. I mean, after 7 days. It's been 7 days since that stream, so I doubt it'll be up. Yeah, it's not up anymore. The VOD's not up. Because I streamed like last week Sunday, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it wouldn't be up. But yeah, I mean, you could post it again or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we're not going to talk about that. But Grant, you would be surprised if you actually look into it. You know what? If I stream on, I might I don't know if you have like Rumble, but I think on Rumble we can definitely talk about this. I might set up a stream on that platform as well. So we'll see. Let me just check my as well. So we'll see. Well, so we'll see. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, we'll stream for another, 15 minutes. I mean, if there's anything you want me to read, I probably won't end up looking at that again or talking about that again. We'll just do another 10 minutes because I do need to eat dinner, and then I need to post a clip probably from this stream.
Yeah, I mean, we'll stream for another,
I don't know what
15
exactly
minutes.
I'm gonna post. I mean,
If
there's anything you want me to read,
it's freaking echoing.
yeah, but I don't know what exactly I'm gonna post. Probably we'll see. But yeah, definitely interesting conversations. I'm gonna try get the schedule set up on stream so you guys know when I'm so okay. No, I'll create the Telegram so then I can update you. But I'll be on tomorrow probably like 80% chance I'll probably be on tomorrow. Same time, 8 p.m. GMT till 10 p.m. GMT. We can talk more, and yeah, I'll be on every day, Monday through Friday, this week. That's what I'm planning to do at least. So yeah, this just to cover up because last week I didn't stream much, so that should be quite good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll just keep it running a bit longer. I was going to debate your friend Nonfron. He backed out though. He backed out the debate. He seems quite educated though, especially about the US. I mean, I'm not really from the US. I don't know as much as he does. But you know, maybe I'll debate him. I think I can. If I, you know, I think I could. You know, people. You know, whenever you debate immigration with someone, they always bring up like this resource argument. It's just stupid. Immigration is not really it's not nobody. Do you think people are complaining about immigration because of resources? They're complaining about immigration because of culture change. That's what people can't understand. But anyway, it's just stupid. Like, you know, I saw some clips of, you know, people debating immigration. Like, it's not about resources. Like immigrants taking up resources. It's about a change in the culture. That's what I asked. Yeah. But anyway. Okay, yeah, we'll react to this and then we'll end stream. So this is the last thing we'll react to because we're hitting the 2-hour mark. I need to post some clips. And clips take time to make. They take me like an hour or two, typically. But you should watch some of the clips. Tell me if you like them. Tell me if you want me to improve some of the clips. They're on TikTok. You can follow me on TikTok too if you want. Well, it's not me. It's just like my clipping channel. But they basically, if you watch the stream, I guess, it's the same thing. I was just checking if my stream was working on YouTube. It seems to be working. Let me paste the link in. Okay, we'll react to this. Or we'll get through. You think the introduction is worth watching? Should we just skip to the peasant war? Or you think the introduction is necessary? We might okay, you know, we'll just react to the introduction and then I'll get off.
Okay, today we're going to talk about the third stage of the Russian Civil War, and that is the Peasant War. Before we get there, I want to finish on the Denikin offensive and the collapse of the White offensive and General Denikin. We finished the story with October 1918 when his armies are standing 200 kilometers from Moscow, asking him what he's going to do when he comes to Moscow. He promises that there'll be fair elections, he's going to run for elections. To what extent was there real possibility of Denikin victory? It seems like there was a chance. It was not a big chance, but there was a chance that he might win. And in fact, the Bolsheviks were preparing the passports to leave and in case things went bad. But then there were several factors that worked against Denikin, and these are these factors. Number one, his relations with peasants were not really good. As the White Army was advancing, the peasants were suspicious of the whites because they heard rumors of executions, of the witch hunt against the communists and commissars and Soviets, and some of them had anything to do with the Soviets. At any point, they were afraid of the white coming to their villages. The second reason it was weakening is that the Cossacks, who were a big part of the volunteer army or allies with the volunteer army of the officers, they had second thoughts about going too far from their native villages. Once they were fighting for their villages, for their power in their villages against the Bolshevik requisitioning, against decossakization, they were fine, they were defending their land. But once they were 300, 400, 500 kilometers away, they were not particularly interested in putting their utmost effort into the white victory. So this is the second reason. And the third reason, and the most important, is the capacity of the Bolshevik regime to mobilize. They were superb in organization and mobilization. They would come to any village and create the committee of this and committee of that. The Bolsheviks really were unsurpassed masters of mobilization, propaganda, agitation. They were professionals. They were doing it all their lives, and they were good at putting an army to. They were putting their army in action once the offensive began. So in that sense, the Bolsheviks were superior in their capacity to mobilize for the offensive. So finally, they did mobilize 200,000 men, which really was more than what Denikin had, and they started their offensive, which broke the front, and by December 1918, the Bolsheviks were in full command of the south of Russia. The volunteer army was in full retreat. And in the book, I have a fascinating report of a British journalist, a British pilot, who gave it to a British journalist. And the pilot recorded observing from the air as he thought tens of thousands of people streaming down the roads, carrying all their possessions and carts and things, escaping the Bolshevik rule. So there were Cossacks, there were intellectuals, there were property owners, there were all kinds of people. They were all going to the south, and there are incredible images from the French sources how they were all trying to get on boats and fighting for their place in boats, and many of them were left behind. But the statistics is that in this period of 1919-1920, 2 million Russians left Russia after this collapse of the white regimes. 2 million, and they were the flower of the nation. They were writers, poets, musicians. They were really the most educated, the most talented part of Russian society, and they all left. Most of them wound up in Paris, but they were Russian community. In any case, Denikin's army is done, and for the remainder of it is stuck in Crimea for another year. That they're in Crimea under General Wrangel. But basically, for our purposes, the white cause is over. They lost, and the next stage of the civil war. And finally, in 1991, I went to Russian archives as soon as they were opened after the collapse of communist rule, and I documented some of the incredible pages of Russian history from the peasant resistance to them. So let me explain what I mean by the peasant war. It is, I call in the book the frontline civil war and the non-frontline civil war. This is why the book is called Behind the Front Lines of the Civil War. The front lines are like an American Civil War. You have a front line. On this line is this army, on that line is that army. They're engaged in battle, and when the army wins or loses, the other side advances and controls territory and establishes government authority. That is the model of an American Civil War. And that was pretty much the way it was with the civil war between the Reds and the Whites, when one of them would advance or withdraw their troops and the other would advance, establish government authority. Not so with the peasant war. I argue in this book that the peasant war was going on In every Russian village of Central European Russia, everywhere, regardless of whether there was a front line, there was a civil war of a different kind. And that is what we're going to talk about now. What kind of a civil war was it? It was what I call in the book a war of peasant resistance against participation in the civil war. What I mean by that is that the peasants didn't want to fight. They didn't want to fight in a Bolshevik war or in a white war, so they resisted draft to the Red Army. And that resistance is overlooked. And I've discovered incredible documents in the archives, which was a report of the Cheka, the secret police, Dzerzhinsky's extraordinary commission to Lenin, describing the activities of a Cheka train that went around the central provinces of Russia in July 1919. And in that report, they basically describe that they have liquidated gangs of green deserters, as they were called, and they were numbering them in one province only, in one province alone, 90,000, according to the Cheka source. So if this was going on, and it was going on not just in one province, but in all the provinces of central Russia, that would give us hundreds of thousands of peasant rebels hiding in the villages and fighting the Bolsheviks. Fighting or not, it depends. We'll talk about it. But they were definitely a part of green resistance. And they were much bigger than anything else around. The Denikin army was 150,000. The Kolchak's army was 100,000. So I argue that the peasant rebels who were fighting the Bolsheviks were several times bigger than the white armies combined. That's the point. Now then the question, did they actually fight or did they not? And here is the answer. They did and they didn't, depending on what their goals were. So I distinguish between several types of green peasant rebels. There are the deserters is the biggest one. And the deserters are there not necessarily to fight, but many of them just hide in the villages and avoid the draft. Their goal is not to be drafted. If they are attacked directly by, Cheka train that is sent to liquidate the deserters, then they fight back. Obviously they do. And in that case, we have a detachment of Greens, of deserters who fight the Bolsheviks. And obviously this was in the tens of thousands. But even bigger group were those that were hiding in the forests, and that's why they were called Greens. And their purpose was to hide not from draft, but to hide from grain requisitioning. Because the Bolsheviks, as we know, sent a requisitioning detachment to the villages to collect the grains from the rich peasants because they needed to feed the cities. That's what they said. Well, what could feed the cities? By supply and demand, by good prices, by trade. Trade is no good. It's capitalism. It's abolished. Therefore, you have to go and take the grain by force. And that's what they did. So the peasants of this category do not want to fight. All they want is keep their grain, their families, and their villages without being attacked. And therefore, they could not be counted as fighting against the Bolsheviks. They basically fight only if they're forced to. If they're forced to, they resort to fighting. What do? They hoard the grain, they hide the grain. If the Bolsheviks discover it, then they fight in a kind of a retroactive fashion to attack the requisition detachments, kill the commissars, distribute back the grain that was requisitioned. So their defensive action is designed to protect them from Bolshevik requisitioning. Continued their resistance in 1918. It goes much bigger in 1919, reaches even higher level of resistance in 1920. Moreover, one can argue that in 1920, the Bolsheviks have entered the most gruesome, the most cruel and bloodthirsty period of the peasant war. Now, the most famous of these episodes is the civil war with peasants in Tambov province. There are books written about it. Recently, I reviewed a big, thick German book by a German scholar.
Oh, you just stopped there. Um,
And Lenin,
Let me
we're going
come back to BS. We just reacted to the whole thing. It was quite interesting, to be fair, because I don't know much about the the Civil War and what happened in 1920 to 1921, and it's definitely telling. It's definitely telling. The Peasant War. I need to look more into it because he is making an argument which seems fair, but I think there's, I don't know, because you would be right then about but look, I need to look into the other side of it because there's no way. I just can't wait. Let me bring up the specific moment when he was talking, because I don't want to misquote him. Give me a second. It was around here.
behaved. I mean, that is what is described in the reports of the secret.
Yeah, but like, there has to be more to it. Like, it can't just be because they're forced into the army. And there
Police.
has to be
And
over
that's not the only
exaggerated.
example.
Like,
And
let me
Communist
bring
Party educated role models of most of these million were communist upstarts. They replaced the intelligentsia of the old time, which was unreliable.
Oh,
Now,
this is a different video. Oh, what the hell?
broke the front, and by December 1918, the Bolsheviks were in full command of the south of Russia. The volunteer army was in full retreat. And in the book, I have a fascinating report of a British journalist, a British pilot, who gave it to a British journalist, and them were left behind. But the statistics is that in this period of 1919, 1920, 2 million Russians left Russia. But they were Russian community. In any case,
They were like the smartest people.
after the collapse of communist rule, and I document by the peasant war. This is why the book is called Behind the Front Lines of the Civil War. The front lines are like an American Civil War. You have a front line. On this line is this army, on that line is that army. They're engaged in battle, and when the army wins or loses, the other side advances and controls territory and establishes government. The civil war between the Reds and the Whites, when one of them would have gone, or whether there was.
It is though. The peasants don't want to die for Bolsheviks, and the war is the dirty, ugly business. And people heard what happened in the front line in Western Europe during World War One. Oh yeah, that is true.
The front line. There was a civil war of a different kind, and that is what we're going to
This
talk
is what I
about
wanted to
now.
touch on.
What kind of a civil war was it? It was what I call in the book the civil war. What I mean resistance against, so they resisted draft to the Red Army, and that resistance is overlooked. And I discovered incredible documents in the archives, which was a report of the Cheka, the secret police, Dzerzhinsky's extraordinary commission to Lenin, describing the activities of a Cheka train that went around the central provinces of Russia in July 1919. And in that report, they basically describe that they have liquidated gangs of green deserters, as they were called, and they were numbering them in one.
The thing is, right? It says the peasants took up such a large proportion. What there was they were like what 10 times larger than the White Army. I think that's what he said. But there's just I don't know. It's probably yeah. I mean, it makes sense. But that does make sense. But yeah, I feel like it has to be more than it's just like military conscription. But I guess it could be. Like it must have been because of famine. I can't remember if he said that's one of the reasons, but I remember him talking about like them, not really famine, but I mean like like a whole. It was like a government. There was a collapse of government, right? And there was probably maybe the exchange rate was collapsing, inflation was too high. It must have been a variety of issues that caused this. I doubt that it's only because of military conscription. But we can talk more about this tomorrow. Before I leave, I just want to make this one point because I remember talking about it, but I don't know if you've again I don't know if you've looked into it, but you should look at the Disputation of Paris, and what it was about is basically in the Disputation of Paris. Okay, to begin, what happened is, so them boys. Okay, no, you know what? I'm gonna speak about this. I'm gonna speak about this, but I'm a comedian, and I'm just explaining what happened. I'm not. Look, I don't believe in any anti-Semitism, nothing like that. I don't believe in that. But I'm just stating facts here because I just want to talk about their population was tens of millions. Okay, it was tens of millions. But I just want to make this point quickly, and then we can talk about it. I'll be on every single day this week. We'll talk about that tomorrow because it's a deep topic. I just want to touch on this point. Um, yeah, but I'm saying it from a comedic standpoint and whatnot. But so in the Disputation of Paris, what happened is practically the Jews, they have this book and it's called the Talmud, and the basically multiple rabbis basically from generations write based on ruling and based on policy, like what works, what doesn't, form these Talmuds, and they form what's in these Talmuds, right, or in the Talmud. And just after Jesus' death, so I think it was 250 BC, or sorry, 250 AD, and yeah, after his death, and Christ wasn't really like the world. Yeah, the Romans believed in Christ at the time, but it wasn't really as grand as it was. Oh no, no, it might have been BC. No, no, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. The book taking grain and goods to serve Red Army troops also convinced them to oppose fighting on the Bolshevik side, and they were afraid. What's convinced them just on the Bolshevik side, and they were afraid of the liberal forces of the whites from tens of millions is realistic to imagine. Yeah, to be fair, that makes sense. That makes sense. And to be fair, I mean, it does have a massive population. Yeah, maybe. But just to touch on this point, before we'll talk about more about the Russian conflict tomorrow. We can start with that, or not. I'll talk about the daily news, and then we can start with that maybe for like an hour. But I just want to make this point quickly. So there's basically, yeah. So multiple scribes, multiple rabbis. They work ferociously, or they to write the laws. The Talmud is like a book of laws basically, and the Jewish people, they look at the Talmud as a guide to life, and it consists of so many laws. So you know how the Bible has like 10 commandments, the Talmud actually has like 613 or 600 something commandments, right? And remember, now we have 100 plus million. Exactly, yeah, it does have a massive population, so I do think that's true. But let me just quickly. So yeah, the Talmud is basically formed by these rabbis, and the Jews look at it as a book to guide them in throughout their daily lives. They look at it as like a commandment book, and it has way more commandments than the Bible. It has a variety of them. One of them, for example, is like the Jews, you can't wear like a certain fabric of clothing with another fabric, or you can't eat meat and drink milk at the same time. So like that's what it consisted of, right? And the Jews, they followed this deeply. And what happened is basically in 1218, I think it was. Don't quote me on that. But during 1218, there was the Romans were in power, and the reasons they did not kill all the Jews was because they believed the Jews were capable of changing. They were capable of, I think it was 1,000 to 250, but that this happened. But they were talking. The Talmud was made in 258 or whatever. Um, but the Romans, the reason they didn't kill these Jews is because they wanted them to convert to Christianity, right? And they thought they would because the Jews, people when people think about their book, they think about the Old Testament, and they have similarities there. That's why they kept the Jews around, right? But so one of the Jews who converted to Christianity went to the king, who was like King Louis the, I don't remember, King Louis the Fourth, let's say. Don't quote me on that, but it's King Louis something. Went to him and he said, "You won't believe what's in the Talmud. You won't believe what it says in here." And he basically came out with a statement telling the king the Talmud has things saying, bad things that are said about Christ, bad things that are said about Jesus, bad things that are said about Mary. Calling Mary, apparently this is what he claimed. He claimed that in the Talmud they call Mary a prostitute. They call Jesus a liar, a false prophet. They said he'll die in hell, and that's the claims he made. So the king, he didn't believe this offset, so he created a disputation, which is like a debate, literally like a debate that we would have now, right? That's what he did. So the king came out and he's like, okay, we're gonna have a debate about this. And then on the Jewish side, there was like a bunch of rabbis that came up, and then on the Christian side, there were a bunch of priests that came up to argue this cause. And the Jews came out and they said, this is a misinterpretation. We weren't actually talking about Jesus because this was before Jesus was even born. The Talmud was written before Jesus was even born. And the Christians came out. They came out with things like, okay, but it's still timeless, because they were saying, the Christians there claimed that, the Talmud basically said, if you are an idol worshiper, you are like a sinner, or we don't agree with you. And they apparently they were talking about the Romans at the time. They weren't talking about Jesus. And they came out with claims like that, and they were saying they weren't talking about Jesus, and they referenced Jesus as Yeshu at the time, because Yeshu was like, because so many people didn't know Jesus' name, and there was a bunch of different languages. Yeshu was typically reserved to Jesus, and there were actually mentions of Jesus in the form of Yeshu in the Talmud, right? But they did not apparently in the situation they were talking about, when they're saying, he'll burn in hell, and we don't idol worshippers should be killed. They said that in this situation they weren't talking about Jesus as Yeshu, but Yeshu was just a common name, and they're talking about anyone else. And you should really look into that. And I think the rabbis were, of course, right. I believe in the rabbis. I think that they were right, and they were put under Christian pressure at the time. You know what I mean? And but yeah, you should look into it. I think it's interesting. And what happened is basically the rabbis were found guilty at the end, and the Talmud was burnt. But we didn't actually see what was in the Talmud because all the books were burnt. But yeah, that was just an important point for me to bring up, because it's really about like uh, you know having a Christian state, and whether people can really align with our views and whatnot. But no, I think they were right. I think that it was misinterpreted. I don't think that it was true at all. The Christians at the time, they weren't looking at it from an unbiased perspective, if you know what I mean. They were super biased, and they just didn't like the Jews. That's my opinion. But yeah, I think that you guys should look into it. And yeah, I'll just give you my last thoughts. I think today's stream was good. We'll be on tomorrow. We'll get the Telegram set up, and yeah, we'll get the Telegram set up. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the stream. Maybe things I should improve. Um, yeah, let me know what you guys think. You know, it was a good conversation today. Thank you, Grand Designs for Enjoyer for tuning in. Appreciate you every night. And yeah, interesting conversations. I learned quite a bit today, especially with the links you sent me. And yeah, you know, continue to learn. We continue to learn, and hopefully, you know, you need to save. You need to save on cloud the streams. Yeah, on YouTube they save, but sometimes it doesn't stream on YouTube. I'll stream tomorrow night. I'll stream every single night this week, probably. Maybe I'll skip Wednesday. I'll let you know tomorrow, but we'll stream again tomorrow night, definitely. And then Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. I think we'll do that. Um, but I think on YouTube they do save, but sometimes it just doesn't stream on YouTube for some reason. But yeah, no, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. Love you guys.